Russia sells the world just one promise, and that promise is patronage. That if tomorrow you need protection, if you are under fire, Russia will come to bail you out. And at this moment, Iran happens to be demanding proof of that protection. But Moscow has spent years selling itself as the global broker, the channel that can talk to anyone. And though Putin likes to think of himself as a patron, that Lavrov thinks of himself as the Iran whisperer, when it comes down to it, we see that Russia's demonstration so far is not of being a country that can change outcomes. We see there's a huge gap between the promises and the published evidence. Protection evidences itself with air defense, with escorts, deployments, visible force on the ground. But today we are not seeing that. What we are seeing is that instead of the senior leadership of Russia going in person to meet with foreign leaders or sending its advisors to make sure that a better outcome is found for the Iranian leadership, we see that instead Moscow is focused on something else. They are focused on evacuation. What we see today is that Russia offers statements, it makes Facebook posts, it gives empty speeches at the Atomic Energy Agency or the United Nations, but in no case does it do anything to materially help Iran. And there's a very simple reason for that, and that's because today Moscow has other problems. The top one is that today the Putin regime is becoming destabilized, and Putin must focus on trying to stabilize it. My name is Dr. Jason Smart. I'm a Kiev Post special correspondent and a national security advisor. Increasingly, it's pretty amazing as we watch how Russia, though has sold itself as offering patronage for so many years, the ability to come and bail out its allies, it simply cannot. The credibility of Russia is being tested again on the world stage. And what we are seeing is that every country should probably be recalibrating how much it trusts Russia's ability to come and lend it a hand in the hour of need. The fact is that Russia is not backing Iran in the same way that it did nothing to help Assad. In the end, it did nothing to help Maduro. In all cases, it was simply beyond the capacity of Russia to do anything. And today, it's in the exact same position. But that's why today it's so absurd that Russia believes they can dictate the conditions to Ukraine. Why would a country that has shown time and again cannot actually do anything given such incredible lateral? Quite the opposite. Today is the day that we should get to the world the truth that Russia is in no position to dictate to others what should be done. Help us get the truth to more people and reach 275,000 subscribers. Please hype this video, like it, and share, and leave your comments below. And consider becoming a channel member today. So if Russia is truly a patron, as it claims, we would expect to see visible protection. We would expect to see boots on the ground. We would expect to see actions being taken to prop up the regime, air defense, escorts, deployments, visible forces that are protecting the Iranian government. But at this moment, we are not seeing any of this. In fact, we see zero in-person crisis travel to Tehran. We see no protective deployments. We see nothing being done to protect Iranian airspace. In fact, publicly, we see no evidence that Russia is using its air force to support Iran in any way. The only way that we see that the Russians are using their military, and there was a deployment to Iran, was in Illusion 76. That airplane arrived, and did it bring with it air defense? Did it bring soldiers? No. It was evacuating Russians from Iran. That is the only deployment we've seen so far from the Russian military. And that shows you the big gap that exists between what Russia promises the world and what Russia delivers to its allies who trusted it. But at the same time, Russia does have other levers of power. It is a member of the Security Council of the United Nations. It's very important at the International Atomic Agency. So what is it doing in these cases? Well, it's making statements, firmly worded statements. But how much do those statements actually add up against missile strikes? Well, they don't do very much. Today we're seeing, though, for Moscow, there are other priorities. There are other things that their Ministry of Foreign Affairs is very dedicated to, things which are posted on Facebook. And though today we see that Tehran is burning, that is treated as a managed disruption, because today Russia's diplomats are busy. In the case of Thailand, they have to attend a film festival. In the case of China, they are going to be going to an event to promote their culture. In the case of what we see in Paris, they're going to UNESCO to talk about global heritage. We see time and again how Russia's embassy is doing very little to actually help its allies. They have plenty of posts in countries like Vietnam about what to do to avoid the crisis in Iran. We see in the case of India what to do if your visas expire due to the situation in Iran. In the case of Qatar, we have highlights of which hotels to stay in case you're stuck there for a long period. In the case of Cyprus, what to do if you wish to evacuate. Across Africa, we see that Russia is very active. There's plenty of posts about what they're doing there. For instance, in the case of Ethiopia, the importance of the African Union. Uh, But there's nothing there about what they should be doing to help Iran. But we see a parallel track, and this is not just about social media postings. You might wonder, what is Sergei Lavrov doing right now? The Minister of Foreign Affairs. Surely he's coming to the aid of his allies in Iran. Well, no. Today, Lavrov was extremely busy. Lavrov was meeting with the leadership of Brunei. Brunei, keep in mind, a country with which Russia has virtually no economic ties, was the priority of the day. And with whom did he meet? Well, he met with their deputy foreign minister. That's pretty incredible to consider that while Russia is in a crisis situation, their foreign minister, one of their top people in the government, had greater priorities. And that was to meet with the deputy foreign minister of Brunei. But at the same time, we see that Russia's not be able to do very much to help the Ayatollah. In the case of Pakistan, their embassy there went to go sign the condolence book for the Ayatollah. We see that overall, though, there is very little that they're doing in Europe as well. We see in the case of Finland, they issued a statement about somebody who burned a Russian flag. In the case of Poland, we see them also giving interviews in Russian for domestic use. Across the region, we see that Russia does very little. But Russia did deploy some military hardware. It was not to Iran, though. It was to Madagascar. And along with the aircraft that they received a lot of food products. That is more than it has done for Iran. Consider how little Iran must matter. Or is it because Iran does, in fact, matter? It matters a great deal. But Russia doesn't have the ability, the capacity to actually change what's going on. It has no ability to change the outcome. And that's why today it continues with this bread and circus to distract people from the central problem. The central problem for Russia today is not simply that Iran has been attacked, it's that Russia could do nothing about it. Russia likes to talk tough. It likes to behave like it is a world leader. But the evidence is quite a bit different. Russia is attached enough to Iran that if it falls, it will destroy the Putin regime. But it is not tight enough that it's willing to do anything or able to do anything to stop that from happening. But Russia has new problems that are coming into its world. We saw that just now, the attacks that were carried out in Cyprus. Well, incredibly enough, those attacks had Russian made jamming systems in the drones that were used. That means that Russia is complicit in these attacks on a base of the United Kingdom. So do we expect that there will be sort of a result to this? Do we expect that the West will step up? That's where it reaches yet another irony. Though Russia is so weak, it feels empowered to help Iran for years to create technologies to destroy the West. And yet, we do not hold Russia accountable. We fear Russia. But quite obviously, looking at the situation today, looking at the fact that Russia is prioritizing helping Madagascar get aircraft ahead of helping Iran, isn't it quite clear that we should not fear Russia? Russia has no ability to stop what's going on. Look in the case of Belgium. They've just blocked another tanker coming from Russia with oil. And blocking that tanker shows what Russia can do. It issued a strongly worded letter. So if that's all that Russia could do when we break down its ghost fleet, then why are we worried? Why are we afraid that Russia will react if we do more to support Ukraine? Why do we fear that today Russia can do anything at all to stop the tide of history? Look how Russia was able to help Bashar al-Assad. Well, he fled to Moscow. Or how they helped Viktor Yanukovych, the former leader of Ukraine. He fled in 2014 to Moscow. Look how they helped Askar Akayev, the former leader of Kyrgyzstan, in 2005. He also now lives in Russia. It's what they did for Erich Honecker as well from Germany in 1991. He was later extradited, but at the same time, we see that Russia is not able to do anything for its allies. It can offer them a space, a safe space, and where they can sit and not be killed by their own populations. But aside from that, can they actually do anything for them to stay in power? The truth of the matter is that they cannot. We don't see that Russia today is posting on social medias about what it's doing in countries that are the first world, countries that can actually leverage some sort of a degree of influence. They're going for the countries that essentially do not really care. They'll accept assistance from anybody that'll give it to them. And they're not going to the countries that they could try to use some sort of their own influence. That's because today Russia does not have influence. Russia today has burned its influence due to its ongoing war in Ukraine, its illegal invasion. And today Russia is becoming destabilized because of it. And this is all happening as Iran becomes further destabilized. Keep in mind, right now there's increasing tensions between the Revolutionary Guard and the government of Iran. And that tension right now is very important because it's not clear who's currently leading Iran de facto. The leadership of Iran, though, that is a big question what will happen next. But as this sort of tension grows, as there's increasingly a question as to whether or not it'll split, we can expect to see that elite cohesion, the ability of the elites to stay together, will begin to fracture. And that's exactly a sign that regimes will fall. Historically, for a revolution to be successful, a couple different things have to happen. But one of the most important signs that we always look for is when there's defections from the military and the intelligence services. In the case of Iran, defections from the Revolutionary Guard will be key. But if the government decides to start putting more pressure on the Revolutionary Guard, decides to try to subordinate it, it is at that point that we might start to see those defections. Now, for Vladimir Putin, that's something that he should be concerned by. He himself has dealt with the problem before of military uprisings. He remembers very well, probably, Wagner and Prigozhin. But today, he is probably much more focused on that and that eventuality than he is about the situation in Iran. Because it's a very simple reason. Today, Russia is not in a position to help Iran because it itself is becoming destabilized. Thank you, as always, for supporting Ukraine.